Last week we talked about weed walleyes, why, where. Now let's talk about how to catch those weed walleyes. They are not as difficult as we think they are. Sure, you're going to get hung up. You're going to be cleaning weeds off your hooks and so forth. But a couple of ways of catching these weed walleyes, of course, are going to be, and I call it pop jigging. It's taking, generally speaking, an 1/8 of an ounce or a 32nd ounce jig. And yes, you can tip it with leeches and so forth, but I really prefer any type of a plastic, like a jigging grub, if you will. Some of the power minnows also are going to be extremely productive. You cast in some of those pockets and you pop your rod tip up, drop it back down, keep doing that, not only to the edge of the weeds, but all the way up to the boat. Many times once you pull that walleye out of the weeds, you start to raise that jig up, the walleye is going to hit. That's one way of catching these weed walleyes. Another, of course, is running your crankbait through those weeds. Generally speaking, then you want to use a round bill. I usually try to use more of a shallow runner. Yes, you're going to get hung up, but you're also going to catch a lot of walleye. And then another way is using a live bait rig. Now, when these fish are right at the edge of the weed line under tough fishing conditions, like a cold front, for instance, would be one of those situations. Then you'd want to use a shorter snell live bait rig, tie your own, generally speaking about 24 inches to 36 inches. And here I use a bullet sinker that we use for Texas rigging worms. And this is going to slide through the, shall we say, the grass, the edge of the weeds, much easier than getting hung up, getting snagged. And then if you are able to use weedless hooks, it's going to be a big, big plus factor. Here again, this might be a little tougher bite, but you are going to catch fish. Then, of course, we have the ultimate where many people do use and do recognize using bobber system. Generally speaking, you're going to use a bobber system with a leech, possibly a piece of a crawler, but generally speaking, leeches are going to be the most productive. You're going to avoid all those little sunfish or bullheads or whatever it may be pulling off that leech. So a lot of ways of catching weed walleyes. Give it a try. Put up with the hassle. If you got winds blowing into the weeds, even under a cold front, some very, very successful outings.
Find more prep sports games and highlights at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.